Hey guys, today I'm going to show you 5 legendary EQ tricks that all the pros use. EQs are one of the most essential tools to know how to use, and in this video I'm going to show you 5 tricks that add so much life to your music that it's crazy. But right before we jump into that, keep in mind that I just launched one of the biggest guitar sample packs out right now with over 300 loops and melodies inspired by Illenium, Said the Sky, Griffin, and so many more chill electronic and electronic pop artists. You can check that out in the description below this video. Let's hop into the video. Trick number 1 is a cell phone filter. This is a really awesome trick to use in the transitions of your song, and in this piece of music here, I'm going to use it right before my drop. It's my favorite place to use this type of filter. So the piece of music we're working with today, it sounds like this. So we have the build up in this area here, and then the drop down here after bar 13. So the cell phone filter works really well when you use it on your instruments that happen right before the drop. So you could use it on the chords, the bass, the leads. In my case, I'm going to use it on the leads, or in other words, the vocal. So here's the vocal that happens right before the drop. So what we do is we go to the vocal, load up an EQ. Any EQ will work. Make sure you go ahead and default the preset or initialize the preset so it looks like this. Then what you're going to do is you're going to grab a high cut and drop it down to around 3000 hertz, and then a low cut and bring it up to around 500 hertz. Going to add a little notch here, or an increase, somewhere toward the top of this filter. None of these filters have to be precise, but the closer you are to what I have here, the better it'll sound. You get that nice intercom atmosphere, and you could use that anywhere in a song. It'll always sound cool. The second trick is how to make atmospheric vocals for the backgrounds of your songs. I guarantee this is the coolest sound you've ever heard in your life. For this trick to work, you will need a piece of music, and my piece of music sounds like this. These vocal cuts I actually took from splice.com. Before we put the filter on, these vocals sound like this. Go ahead and load up an EQ. Is take a high cut and just make these vocals sound like they're underwater. That's gotta be the soundtrack that plays when you go to heaven. This trick is filtering away all of the other instruments away from the sub bass so that you can actually hear the sub bass. This is your little introduction to mixing. In this drop here, honestly, unmixed, it sounds pretty good, but you can't actually hear the sub bass because it's muffled by all these other instruments. So here's my sub bass. But I have all these other instruments in the drop that are crashing into the sub bass, so we can't even hear it. Our sub bass is really prominent down here, and sub bass is super delicate. We can't have any other instruments with frequencies that are down here, otherwise it's going to make the sub bass muddy. So if my sub bass is prominent down here, I need to apply a filter that looks like this to all my other instruments. So let's go to the high bass, which sounds like this. And I'm going to apply a low cut filter to move this bass out of the way of the sub bass. So this is the sub bass's area down here. So we're going to go ahead and filter this high bass away from that sub bass region. If I look at these chords, look, there's frequencies down here in the sub bass area. So let's go ahead and apply a low cut filter so the sub bass can have its clean area to be a bass. So now if we press play, This next trick is making really cool EQ filters during the drop to add dynamics. Now, a lot of you in the bootcamp community, your songs lack dynamics, so this will totally help. So step one is to go to your master fader and click show output track. And it's going to show a track that says stereo out like this. Then what you want to do is you want to grab a channel EQ, as always, and initiate your high and low cut filters. So in this drop, the midway point to this drop is right here, and this is the most fun place to do a filter like this. So without any filter, this drop sounds like this. Very boring, very flat. So let's make it come to life with some automation on this channel EQ. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this low cut filter here, go to my automation list, because it didn't already, and choose low cut frequency. And make an insertion point. And so this is where you have to get pretty surgical. You got to get nice and precise so that your filter sounds really cool. So it's going to be off for when we get into the second drop, and then it's going to be off for when we go into the filter. And I want the filter to start right here because there is a kick that happens right there. So I don't want to interrupt that kick. I want that kick to be heard. And then let's make a nice, kind of like a bell curve that looks like this. That's not a good looking bell, but like you get my point. And one last thing before we press play, make sure your filter is at the highest number possible. This will ensure that the filter is nice and tight and precise. I'm also going to increase this just a little bit. This is resonance. I'm going to put this on 1. Now let's go ahead and give a listen to this. And just like that, you get that nice flowy filter. You can even increase it, or increase the intensity by increasing just how high you want the filter to go. Yeah! Woo! This final trick is how to enhance your kicks. Your kicks are the most important instrument in the mix, so this trick will help you make sure they're a little stronger. So here's my kick. I'm going to show you 2 little tweaks that you could do to a kick just to make it come out a little bit harder. The first one is that I dip around in between 100 and 200 hertz. And what this does is it leaves more room for the sub bass to be audible. If we play it with the filter versus without, this is a really easy filter to overdo, so make sure when you apply it, just pull back just a little bit so you ensure that you don't overdo it. The second one is that I take a low cut filter here and I follow the natural dynamics of the kick, or the natural shape of the kick, and I just increase the resonance just a little bit. And this is if the kick needs it. Some kicks don't need it. Some kicks this was already done to before you downloaded them. This kick has room for a little bit of sub bass improvement, so I can pull off a filter like this. And that is how you enhance your kicks. There you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to learn more about every element of music production, whether it's melodies, chord writing, music theory, sound design, mixing, and mastering, you can come join me in my EDM Bootcamp, which is linked below this video. My EDM Bootcamp is not just a course that teaches you all those things about music production, but it's also an entire back-end Slack room where you can ask me any music production question that you have, or send me your songs for unlimited track feedback from me and the other members of the bootcamp. That sounds like something you're into? Go ahead and check that link out at the top of the description below. I'll see you in there.